Well, yeah, I don't. That's a good question. I don't know. Well, I became a Christian follower of Christ, and so I lent my drumming skills to the worship bands. Eventually, um, I learned guitar, and it was classical guitar because there was this thing called Nouveau Class Flamenco that was happening on in the Bay Area on local radio. Um, that led me to learn the guitar. So I studied at the college level 6 semesters and learned classical guitar. And then eventually I thought, well, why not pick up a steel string and learn the songs of my youth? And then that led me to lead worship, with guitar and vocal. But mainly though, I've been drumming in church, and I do that like five services a week now.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters on That podcast. I'm your host, Brian. Joining today is a special guest, Sal D'Amato. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing very well, though, life has its burdens and blessings, but, there's a lot to be thankful for.
That's good to hear. And thanks for coming on here, bud.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm not too bad. Still dealing with a cold. It's still nagging every now and again, so...
Yeah.
Sal here caught me at an awkward time. In fact, I was just getting ready and he called me. So,
well.
Actually, I just came out of the bathroom too, so that was kind of funny. But good to have you on here, Sal. So, welcome to my podcast. You mentioned during our talks that you've done a couple of interviews already. I guess, what were those like?
What was it like?
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. It's been a while. There was a guy, Kelly, out of Philadelphia area, a drummer who has a YouTube channel. He interviewed me, and I just gave my past, my approach to drumming and how I started drumming, things like that. And then I did an interview with a guy who invented the hinge sticks. And some other people. And then a long time ago, I was interviewed by a guy in Brazil because at the time I was doing Beatle covers on YouTube, and Brazilians love the Beatles. And so he interviewed me, and so it was good. It was a good experience to do that.
Was that Matt Jackson out of Brazil?
No, no, it wasn't. He had a very unusual moniker. I'm sorry. I should have probably researched those things earlier, but
no, you're good. I didn't know if they were recent ones or whether they were just like
it was like the last one was it was like 2019. So yeah.
I see. It's been a while. Okay.
And so you want to interview me because you've seen my YouTube channel, I take it? Yeah.
I did, yeah. In fact, I actually gave you a couple of likes last night. And we'll get into that a little bit. So I just got some questions here for you. So you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So the first question is, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into drumming?
Well, I got into drumming. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, first 18 years, 20 years of my life. And so during 1964, February, I got to see the Beatles live on the Ed Sullivan Show. And like thousands of guys, my life was instantly changed where I became a musician. Seeing Ringo playing the drums and, they had a sound that was unlike anything that happened. So that's how I started drumming. And I would play to... I got a drum kit and I would play records. And it was a good way to start because it's pretty simple and it was very song oriented. And there was a lot going on in the 60s. So it wasn't just the Beatles and the so-called British invasion, but there was Motown, there was Stax Records, Muscle Shoals, whatever was on the radio at the time. Oh, the LA scene, the Wrecking Crew, with this great drummer, Hal Blaine, Funny thing about that scene, I hear a song that came out of LA, like the Mamas and the Papas or whatever, it could be any number of things that came out, Gary Bucket, Union Gap. And I go, oh, that has a really good drummer. Oh, that has a really good, and I didn't realize it was one drummer. It was Hal Blaine and the Wrecking Crew. So that's how I got started with that kind of scene.
Did you ever get into like the country music kind of music that came out of Nashville?
Yes, not at the time. I was in the United States Air Force, and one of the first gigs I did was with a country western band. And it was in Alaska, stationed in Alaska. And I didn't get into country western until I think it was the 1990s with guys like Dwight Yoakam and Clint Black and guys like that, So Garth Brooks, yeah. So, yeah. But
the reason I do ask was actually because the reason I asked was because I actually went on a trip to Nashville and I actually saw Ken Burns' little documentary that talked about country music, how it like formed and how it came on the airwaves and everything else like that. So it's an interesting story.
Yeah. I eventually moved to the San Francisco Bay Area where I lived for 46 years. And that area is a very fertile ground for all kinds of genres of music. And I play just about everything. Original rock, original pop rock, Latin rock, R&B, big band in college, percussion ensemble, things like that. And just funk, fusion. The Bay Area itself was a very fertile ground. A lot of famous bands came out of there, particularly Journey and Santana and bands like that. But yeah, so that afforded me a lot of opportunity. It was a lot of opportunity to gig, too. A lot of that going on, which I supported myself pretty much as a drummer at one time.
Do you still currently reside in San Francisco?
No, 4 years ago I moved to Idaho, southeastern Idaho, right here. My wife had a house that she bought here in 1994, and we met in 1999, and then it was time to leave in 2018, and so we moved to this house. And and which was a blessing because I've been a church drummer for a long time, since 1998. But this church that I'm playing for here in Idaho is the most rockinest band I've ever played in. I mean, they're just superb guitarists, great vocalists. And a matter of fact, here in my studio, we record our services. And so I take the stems home and I mix them. And then I post them online for the worship band to hear and stuff. So I've been doing a lot of that.
That's pretty sick. Are you close to Boise by any chance?
About 3 hours.
I'm
in Pocatello. Yeah.
The reason I asked, do you know Fred Fisher?
No, I don't.
He was a drummer I interviewed recently, and he also lives in Idaho, but he's close to Boise. Real talented guy, really cool dude.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Is it on your channel?
No, not yet. Actually, we're working on it. It's going to be released in December, so don't you worry.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to check it out. Yeah.
It'll be December 12th. Yeah, I did tell him that it'll be December 12th. So.
Okay. All right.
I guess. Yeah. How'd you get into church music? I guess let's get into that story there.
Yeah, I don't. That's a good question. I don't know. Well, I became a Christian, follower of Christ, and so I lent my drumming skills to the worship bands. Eventually, I learned guitar, and it was classical guitar. There was this thing called Nouveau Class Flamenco that was happening in the Bay Area on local radio that led me to learn the guitar. So I studied at the college level 6 semesters and learned classical guitar. And then eventually I thought, well, why not pick up a steel string and learn the songs of my youth? And then that led me to lead worship, with guitar and vocal. but mainly though, I've been drumming in church, and I do that like five services a week now, and it's great. We use an electronic kit that's been converted. Yeah, it's an acoustic kit, and we got triggers on it. I'm also I was a beta tester with Magnetrack, who makes drum triggers and cymbal triggers. Now, in fact, behind me, maybe I can show it later, is a converted Gretsch Jazz Kit Elite with all Magnetrack triggers and cymbals and stuff. Let's see if we can get a shot of that. Can you see it?
Yeah, actually, we were leading into that question too. I was actually going to lead into that. Is that your current set right there?
Yeah, but I also have right here, to my right, is my original Roland V Drum TD12 kit, which I upgraded with a TD20 module and some more triggers and stuff. So it's really great for recording and doing covers. I know you play an electronic kit, right?
I do, yeah. Mine's the Roland TD25.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've been rolling that ever since. And when I was looking at your covers, I was thinking, oh, this guy's playing the exact same kit I am. That's so sick. And so
It's great.
I guess walk us through each kit, I guess. Is that one back there? Is that the one you use for church services?
No, the one, it's at the church.
Okay.
They have, I think it's a Tama kit. I'm not sure. That's been converted with Joe Becky triggers. But on the cymbals, it's Magnetrack's triggers with the low volume cymbals. Yeah. So, and as you know, the really cool thing about electronic drums is you can get so many drum kits out of one kit. I use Stephen Slate. My favorite is Superior Drummer, and then Addictive Drums. I got a lot of their modules and stuff, and Abbey Road 60s drums. Oh, it's really great.
Do you roll with Superior Drummer 3? Because that's the one I roll with too.
Yeah, it is. It is far superior. It is great.
Hence the name.
Yeah, I just got a memo from them today. They just put out this new from Sweden. I think they're based out of Sweden, but of this heavy metal kit that has all these toms and everything. But yeah, they're great.
yeah, I use them for my covers too. But like, if I had to honestly tell you, I've not really changed much of the drums on those particular the sounds. I should say the sounds. It's pretty much like a Yamaha kit. I've been rolling with that Yamaha kit for a good while. It might change. Yeah, the hi-hat, but I'm trying to make sure I like the cymbals to sound a certain way. If it doesn't sound right, it's not good for me. So
of course, yeah. And if it doesn't trigger right, you got to spend some time getting the right sensitivity. The Yamaha kit you use, is this that purple kit? That beach? Do you know, back in California, I played that kit for 12 years. The actual acoustic kit, a purple Yamaha Beechwood, made of Beechwood, right? And I can't believe it. I come to Idaho, and that's what we're using digitally. It's fantastic.
It's come full circle, as they would probably say.
Yeah.
I guess, do you have a preference between electric or acoustic kits?
I have to say that and it could be my, the acoustic kits seem to trigger much better, track with me much better. I mean, we've come a long way with electronic kits, but there's still a disconnect with the sensitivity. Playing light patterns, playing ghost notes and things. And then, of course, once in a while, there's a false trigger, the kick drum So, but I do enjoy the electronic thing. Though I've learned to adapt to it, which is not a good thing because, you shouldn't have to adapt to an instrument, but I've learned to get the best out of the kit, and I've spent so many hours with settings, it all starts with the module. You got to get the settings right in the module, and then you go with the software. So, But for the most part, yeah, I'm very happy with the recordings we've made, from the church that I hear. Um, yeah, so
It's funny when we talk about the module too, because when I try using MIDI, uh, so what tends to happen sometimes it's like you said, it picks up those accidental ghost notes, or it's not making the note as high as I want to because I feel like I hit that so hard, but why is it so lightly colored? It's not
right.
bright red as it probably should be, but it does get a little tricky. So I can kind of see what you mean, and that's why I think the acoustic sets, in terms of like doing the ghost notes or those rolls on the snare, with like that sort of thing.
Yeah,
There's more of a feel to it. Yeah, it brings out the feel with the acoustic sets, but definitely with the electric sets, it's at least better in terms of like noise control. You don't have to worry about tuning. So each one's got its pros and cons. So
yeah. And I've seen drummers online. Like, there's a guy who does tutorials for Superior Drummer, and he gets a great sound out of his kit. But I think the way to go is, you might have seen the latest Roland VAD kits. That they're regular sized drums, but the triggers, they've come a long way. But still, I think there's nothing like a Roland kit. Though it's quite pricey, about $8,000 or something like that. But yeah,
you gotta have a nice little budget to invest in those kind of things.
yeah,
I would say I haven't really paid attention to Spirit Drummer. It was like I bought this product that was $400 back then, so that was like that's enough for me. Whatever I get here, that's what we're rolling with for my drum covers, and it's at least worked out. So I'm happy with what I got.
matter of fact, I've seen all low-end Roland kits that drummers use on YouTube, and they all sound great. You mean even out of the box, out of the module. So, yeah.
I should say, in terms of recording, I turn the master down whenever I'm listening to it, so I make sure I get the notes right. So, well, that's just me. So I'm able to like hear the song playing because it all comes through my audio interface. So that's how I do my recordings. So I guess.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I have an Apogee Ensemble, which is on my work station, but then I have this one by Apogee. I've had it for many years.
Was and just the camera was blurry a little bit.
Just takes out,
Still blurry. Yeah. Why is it still blurry?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, there we go. There we go. Hold it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. We're good.
Yeah. So this was $250, and it worked really well. It still does. But yeah, and that's how I do it. And then you know what I do? A lot of times this can be a hassle because syncing audio with video sometimes is a bit tricky. Some of my videos were, the drumming takes place, but then the sound comes later, or vice versa. But what I do is I record into Logic Pro 10, and I go back and I do some edits, to make it sound better. And then, of course, I got to bounce the track down and then mute the audio that's on the video and then line it up, and that's where it gets tricky. But I've learned some things to do to make that work well. So, yeah.
I was gonna say, does that work kind of similar to how the iRig is, or how's it work?
Oh yeah, the iRig. Yeah, I got an iRig back there. The iRig, yeah. That goes into the camera. That goes into the the iRig is coming out of the output of the Roland module, and then it goes into the. Yeah, I've used that a bit. Not a whole lot, but I've used that and it worked pretty well.
Well, yeah. I was actually saying that device you were holding up earlier, does it work kind of similar to an iRig?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. It's got, USB, and the USB is connected to the Roland module. And, actually, the USB is going into my MacBook Pro that has Superior Drummer on it. And then the line coming out is going to the camera and going to my monitor in my ear. I wear in-ears when I play. Yeah.
Gotta say, your sound was pretty killer on the videos I watched last night. But
yeah,
I was just gonna say, do you play mostly Christian contemporary music, or is it mostly like different genres incorporated with Christian
Well,
music.
yeah, if I know, there's so much information out there, but if you go on my channel, you'll see all kinds of stuff: funk, fusion, salsa, Latin rock, pop music. Just what's on there lately is Christian music, because I've had to learn a bunch of songs in the past few years at this church. So when I learn them, the best thing to do is, well, after I learn them, let's turn on the camera and make a cover. So those are the last kind of videos I have, are that. But yeah, I've done some what you call linear drumming, influenced by Steve Gadd, and yeah, it's all kinds of stuff that's on there. Just recently I've been getting comments on my Jimi Hendrix videos, and for the longest time they've been blocked by the Hendrix estate. And so I have 160 Beatles covers that, when the Beatles music was able to be purchased online back in, I think it was 2009, that's when they got blocked. So I've seen these things become blocked and unblocked, so hopefully they'll be unblocked someday.
I'd say good about music is at least they allow it to be on YouTube, but I guess it depends on what sort of social media service you're using, because I think Instagram, I think, blocks like some of your videos if you... It's funny too, because in Instagram they'll say like they'll block it in certain countries, which you're kind of scratch your head like, why would I want to go to Russia or Somalia, North Korea, or any of those places? So it's odd. I don't get it either. But I know friends in my drum community, they've tried doing Jimi Hendrix, Beatles. I think they even do Metallica ones, and those ones get blocked. So
yeah, my Metallica one, that one. Anyway, I have one Metallica song, "Enter Sandman," that is available. So I don't understand how some things get blocked and others don't. But there's a guy on YouTube. He's got a great channel, Rick Beato, and he made a comment that these publishing companies that block music are really doing themselves a lot of harm, because they're going to be forgotten if you can't access them, and it's dumb. I'm not making any money off of I can't monetize a cover, so it's kind of weird.
I know, right? You would just think, and this is something I brought up in my other interviews, was just put the disclaimer on it, and then it would just be like, that's all we have to say, and then just don't monetize the video if you're one of those people over the 1,000 subscriber mark. Just do that, but...
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird. I kind of wish they would stop it. That guy that's a good comment too. That's actually a really good comment.
Yeah.
So, I guess let's move away from that. But what sort of sticks do you use for your covers, and I guess whenever you play?
What sticks?
Yep.
Yeah, I've been using Vader maple, sugar maple, because they're light. I don't need the sticks to be heavy on electric kit or things. So they're Vader, and I like the .580. They've got enough thickness. I can't hold on to too skinny a stick like 5As or something. And they're Fusion, and some are 9A. And as far as maple sticks, I use a Vic Firth NE1. Do you know who Mike Johnson is?
That name sounds familiar.
Oh yeah, he's a well-known clinician on YouTube. You can see him, Mike Johnson. These are his sticks, and they too are .580, and they're maple. They're a little. So I go between those. Yeah, I've got so many sticks that I've gone through because my taste in sticks change, and I've got like bags of sticks that I'll probably never play again. But I went through them. But I've been sticking with these for a long time now. Yeah.
Is it mostly just Vader and Vic Firth, or do you also experiment with ProMark and?
I've tried ProMark in the past. They seem too rigid and stiff to me. Somebody gave me some Neil Peart model, and yeah, I just can't. Yeah. I used to use Regal for a long time back in the 70s. Regal too. But yeah, it's Vader and Vic Firth. Yeah.
I see.
And I use the stick wax too, because I have a very loose grip, so it makes it easier to hold onto the stick with some stick wax.
I see. I guess it's teach your own, because I know people that just say like I've used ProMark for so long, or like I roll with Vic Firth, so I think it just comes down to feel whenever you first get sticks. So
Yeah.
me personally, I've always rolled with Vic Firth because I was like, I like the way it feels, and I never
Yeah.
felt a need to expand outwards. So for me, it's weird because I feel like if I expand anything out, I might forget my Vic Firth. It'll just be sitting there collecting dust.
Yeah.
So
And you use maple, I take it, or hickory, I think, or
it's something like that.
hickory. It would be hickory, yeah.
In all
It's either
seriousness,
hickory or maple. Maple's light, that's what I like about it. Yeah.
I was gonna say I never really pay attention. I just like the way it looks, to be honest. And
Yeah.
I guess just like I said, it just goes with the feel too. So
Sure, it's an individual matter. It's a matter of taste.
I guess going back to your electric set, have you ever incorporated with your acoustic set there and kind of do like that whole satellite kind of sets that you saw like Neil Peart had? I guess our drummers have done it too, but Neil Peart's the first one that comes to mind.
You mean use acoustic and electric?
Yeah, for like certain songs. Say the electric sets like for percussion and stuff like that. And
No, I've never done that. I have an octopad that I might use. The church I play at, we're going to give a Christmas concert where we do things like Trans-Siberian Orchestra and really heavy kind of stuff. We're giving 5 shows. I was thinking of using my octopad with that for things like gongs or glockenspiel or whatever. But no, I've never done that. Yeah.
I just think it's a cool idea, especially since it eliminates the need of having a drum set completely surrounding you too. So
Yeah.
speaking of Neil Peart, because you mentioned Steve Glad, I guess Jeff Beck, I guess.
Yeah.
Are those your influences, and do you have any others?
Yeah, I have, Dave Weckl, Vinnie Colaiuta, those cats. There were people I admire like Thomas Lang and Marco Minimum and Virgil Donati and, Mike Mangini from Dream Theater. I admire those guys. But influences on me were people like David Garibaldi. He was a drummer for Tower of Power who created a whole new funk genre. Steve Smith, Journey. Yeah, of course, Ringo Starr. Mitch Mitchell from Jimi Hendrix, big influence. Yeah, and those are some of the drummers and of course Steve Gadd and Hal Blaine. There's and also I go through a lot of technical books that I have, like Rick Latham. I don't know if you heard of him. He's got a book out. Another teacher is let's see here. He's Gary Chafee, who Vinnie Colaiuta and Steve Smith learned from him. So I go through some books. And I'm always trying to learn something I can't play, even because I love the love of the instrument. Even though that what I'm learning doesn't necessarily show up in my playing, because I just like to learn. I like to keep learning for the love of the instrument. So, yeah.
I'd say, I want to get out and experiment with new sounds and, I guess, different techniques.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess, have you ever played anything from the metal since you grew up through the 80s? So I imagine in California, things were starting to get heavier in those days. So,
yeah, I didn't play, I didn't have any opportunities to play metal. I respect those drummers a lot, especially what they can do with the double kicks. But it's hard to listen to some of that music because of the vocals. Vocalist sounds like the Cookie Monster, It's hard to get those things. But yeah, no, I never got into that genre. Yeah.
That's most of the time what people would compare it to. Otherwise, I don't know what you consider the high streaks. To be honest, maybe that would just be like the horror kind of streaks you get from those scary movies and stuff like that too. So you're not that
Yeah,
far off. So you're not that
yeah.
far off. That's kind of stuff I roll with too, but I like it more because there is a nice challenge to it, and actually I get a nice sweat out of it too. So it's good exercise. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
definitely more for the challenge, and you kind of feel like you're in their shoes, for instance,
Mm,
and you're
yeah,
playing along to the song too. So that's the other cool thing about the acoustic sets. You're not drowning yourself out with the way the acoustic set is, and I think this is just me, but I feel like if I was playing it while listening to the song through my iPhone, for instance, I feel like I would be drowning myself out, and I couldn't really tell when the time signature changed or which part of the song we're in.
hmm
So that could be
yeah.
another con. So I
So
don't
do
know.
you find that okay to do on an electronic kit?
I do, yeah. Even though I'm practically cranking it a little bit, I got my phone jacked all the way up, and I got the
Yeah,
master at a good volume, but I'm able
yeah,
to hear it too. So it all works
yeah.
out.
Do you use a double kick pedal?
I do, yeah. It's
Yeah, I used it for a while. Yeah.
it's just a single bass pad, but it's at least double foot pedal. So
Yeah, right. Sure. I used to do that with this Roland kit. I have a DW 9000 double pedal, but I haven't used it in a while since the music I was playing didn't call for it. But
I see. I guess were you part of any other groups when you were growing up? And I guess can you share any stories about those?
yeah, I played in, oh gosh, hundreds. I've been on lots of recordings in the Bay Area and some famous studios too, but none of them ever went anywhere. Um, yeah, I mean, there was just so many fusion bands, original rock pop bands, Latin rock bands, nine-piece band with horns and percussion section, and female vocalist, and regular keys, guitar and bass and drums. Um, did a lot of that. Did a lot of casual gigs, weddings, hotels, bars, clubs, this, that, or the other. There was a lot of opportunity in San Francisco. Not here. Though there's a music scene here that some of the people do well here, but yeah. I mean, I have I still have those recordings that I've been on, but some of them are recorded so badly. I think the technology today is a lot better. And speaking of which, one of your questions is how did COVID affect me, right? And
Well, we were
it,
coming to that a little bit later, but I guess go ahead.
okay, no, that's okay. We can come later. I'll let you. I'll let you. But
That was one
yeah,
of the questions, yeah. So,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so go on. Yeah.
well, I didn't want to get depressing just yet, but I guess let's keep it funny here. I guess do you have a funny memory from all those recordings and then the time in studios, weddings, and all those other shows you've been to?
Sure. Yeah. There's quite a few. Um, many times, a lot of the gigs, the casual gigs, were I was meeting the musicians for the first time, let alone ever rehearsing with them, right? And so a lot of, because they would play pop music that was familiar if you listen to the radio. But I remember there was really a funny thing. I was playing with these Latin guys. I don't know where I met them. It was in the Mission District in San Francisco, which is really a Latin area. And I wasn't familiar with their music, but I was able to come up with something that can groove. And I remember the guy looking toward me and saying, "I like what you're playing, but it's the wrong thing." you know, uh, and also another gig where there was this older guy. He was like the leader of the band, and I was playing with him for the first time, and he would turn to me and say, "You're not following my tempo." And it's like, and I told the bass player who hired me, I says, if he does that again, he's not gonna have a drummer. But yeah, there's been a lot of stuff like being on the road in Canada in the dead of winter. Uh, yeah, yeah.
I was going to say something with a car breaking down or something like that, or something happened to the taillight.
Or the instruments getting cracked because of the cold, and yeah, uh, yeah.
Sorry, I was letting you continue. I didn't know if there was something
No,
else to it.
okay. There's not much to say. I mean, the memories of far, and some of the things I'd rather not talk about. 'Cause, yeah, it was my pre-Christian days. So
I was going to say it was rated R, that sort of thing. So, I think there was even like there's always a funny story, especially with some of the bands that at least made it big. But it'd be something like the windshield wiper stopped working, and they have that one guy reach out the window and try to wipe the windows clean so the water's not blocking their views. So
yeah,
so
the Beatles have a story like that in the dead of winter in January. Yeah, they had something like that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can imagine too. So all right, that's good stories there. So let's jump into your YouTube channel. I guess when did you start it?
The first time I uploaded anything was New Year's Eve, 2009. So I really started 2010, and it was "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey, and which has a really nice linear pattern that I modified, made it even more linear. So that was the first time I started, and I started doing like, gosh, in those days, I was doing a lot of Beatles. I wanted to cover the Beatles. And I think that's where I got a lot of my subscribers. I would do at least 10 videos a week. Now I have over 700 and something. But I was doing a lot then. And I was covering pop music I grew up with, and then some other stuff, some jazz stuff, some funk stuff. Yeah. And I was thinking about that the other day, that it was a good time to get in on it. I have close to 60,000 subscribers, and it's petered off. It's not. I used to get at least over 100 and something subscribers a month, and now it's like 50 or something. But I really don't care. I don't put much effort into it these days. But I was thinking, if I were to start my channel today, it wouldn't be as successful as it was back then, because it was a new thing. I found out that some of the other drummers that were on YouTube at the time, I thought they were already there, and they were telling me, "No, I saw you, man." And then I started uploading videos. Oh, really? And we were really a tight community. There was a time when I would be notified of at least 20 other drummers' work. And after a while, it got a little bit too much, but we used to support each other's drumming and channel, and that was really a good thing. Yeah.
Was that just kind of like an indirect sort of thing in terms of like what you hope to accomplish with it?
All I really wanted to do was share the love of the drumming and the music. That was my goal. I made the mistake once in a while. Somebody would say, "Hey, man, if you want to get a lot of views, do this song," even though it wasn't a song that didn't resonate with me. And I do it, but that was few and far between. It was, I covered stuff that I really enjoyed as a musician, listening to and playing with. I wasn't to try and get a lot of subscribers. So that was my approach, for the love of drumming and the music.
Well, I was going to say, the videos I was seeing, it looks like you kind of took a little bit of a break. I guess, is it doing the sort of work for your church and I guess career-wise too?
Yeah. Since I've been here in Idaho, I thought for 4 years, I thought, gee, I don't do as many videos I have, but I went back and I counted them. There's quite a few. I was surprised. But one of the things I do, and which is really great, having electronic kit to do this, is I record drum tracks for clients all over the world, in New Zealand and England, even in Poland, here in America. And it's hit and miss. It's not a very steady thing, but it happens once in a while. And and I've had steady clients that continually give me work, and they send me rough tracks, and I'll lay down what I think. Oh, even in Italy, there was a band. I played on 3 of their albums, Modigliani. So they send me rough tracks. I'd lay down a drum groove, a pattern, and they either like it at first shot, or we go back and forth and say, well, they'll give me some suggestions. So, and I'll change it. But that's usually how the process works. And it's really neat. And then I upload them to a Dropbox account, and they pay my PayPal. And then once the PayPal is paid, I give them the link. That was really a good thing. Yeah, so I've done a lot of that. And when I left California, I left my work, my wife and I. So I'm retired, really. But yeah,
quote unquote retired.
What's that?
I was gonna say quote unquote retired because it looks like you're still living large with the drums. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna close this blind here. Excuse me. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, my work is in the church. When I left California, I worked 12 years in Central Peninsula Church in the San Mateo area, and I was part of my job duties was the drummer. I like that, and I was into tech support, which included theatrical lighting, video recording and display, multimedia on the big screens, and my favorite was audio mixing, front of house. And being a musician, you have an advantage of what you can do with mixing a band, because you know what it's supposed to sound like, or you have a certain idea. So that was a lot of fun. And then when I wasn't doing that, I was on stage playing drums, and that was part of my job. It was the best job I ever had.
Sounds awesome too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the problem with musicians, they don't really pay you a whole lot too, so that's always been the downside to it, I guess. Was that kind of a problem you went through in your early days?
Yeah, in the early days. Yeah. From what I hear, not much has changed for the average amount a person can make on a gig in 30 years or more, which is very disappointing. It's hard to make it now, even more so than back then, because the market is so saturated. I mean, I know particularly one person that's trying to make it, and I mean, you have more avenues with the platforms, the
streaming,
like Facebook, streaming and all that, YouTube. But it's so saturated, and I think a more pure motive is to just do it because you want your music out there, not because you're trying to make it big, But there was a time I was supporting myself with the music, and of course, living expenses at that time in San Francisco was not what it is today. So, it all worked out really well. So,
I do feel bad about San Francisco because these days, more particularly from the right-wing news channels and that kind of stuff, they're always bashing something about California. And I know San Francisco, I guess, has got a little bit of a homeless problem now, or
that's what I hear. Yeah. Where are you?
I'm actually born and raised in Pittsburgh, PA.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
Always love it here, even though we now entered the winter times. So
yeah,
the winter have blessed me with a cold right now. So
yeah, we have the weather today was like 7 degrees. It's supposed to snow again. But
I see.
Growing up in New York, it's kind of like in my blood still. Even though I lived in San Francisco area for more years than I lived in New York, it's still there. And plus, I've lived in Alaska. It's you can just dress for it. Yeah.
He's a man of the North, as I would say. So.
Yeah.
All right, that's good to hear. All right, so you did kind of jump with the COVID thing, so I guess we'll jump into that right here. I guess, how bad did it impact you and your family?
It didn't affect me bad at all. I got what I thought was a dose of it, and it lasted maybe 5 days. The first 3 days, I felt sleepy, and I didn't know what I had. I thought, I'm wasting my life. I just want to do nothing but sleep for 3 days. But it didn't stop me from playing in church. And also the church that I work at and serve at, didn't close its doors. They weren't scared of that. They weren't going to let the government dictate, religious freedom or whatever to gather, freely assemble. So I continued playing. So I just had COVID for five days. My wife got it later, 5 days. And the really neat thing is the churches back in California that I knew two worship leaders from two different churches, having worked with both of them. Their churches were closed. So they were doing live streaming so that people at home could do church. But their band consisted of only the worship leader and then a drummer on screen and a bass player and a guitar player on screen. And I contributed for a number of services that way. It was really neat to do that. Also during that time, a lot of my musician friends back in the Bay Area who continually, they never stopped playing. They were doing gigs. They were hurt by it. So what they did was some of them hired me to do drum tracks and stuff. So it was really not bad at all for me.
Mine's kind of a funny story because I went through 2 and I'm going to say 3/4 of years until I finally got it. And I actually went to Music City, Nashville for a trip.
Yeah.
So when you walk down Broadway, you could probably imagine how many thousands of people there were. So it could have been any number of those people. So
yeah.
Well, my dad got it first, and I think my mom had it a little bit, or she got it after me. But regardless, I just remember I was trying to play drums, and I was just feeling fatigued the one day.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do this. I need to just go to bed. But I actually took NyQuil, but in the middle of the night, I got a little fever. So that was, it was a little scary, in fact, but still a little bit funny because I actually woke up and threw on my sweatpants real quick, and that seemed to really help alleviate the whole fever thing out of me. So it was at least good. Right now, it's just a nagging cold, but
yeah,
it took 2 years and 3/4 of this year to finally get COVID. So
wow, good for you. You got a good immune system. Yeah, I got it early on. I think it was 2020, something like that. Yeah, came and went.
I would say it was mainly because since China is across the Pacific there, it just happened to hit California and all the rest of the western states first. So
yeah, right.
But it is good to see everything worked out. It's funny when you mentioned about the churches because I think it was Christmas time 2020 when that's when we were really playing it safe. We didn't know what this virus was going to do, so it was best to just play it safe. We saw the live stream of the church service for Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do remember kneeling behind my couch out of respect for the obvious reasons. And it was definitely a new experience, so it didn't feel like normally what we do when we go as a family to our church. So,
oh, cool. Yeah.
I guess, did COVID open up any other new avenues for you? Do like any sort of projects outside of church, maybe?
Well, like I said, yeah, I did some recording sessions for an album or two during that time. But other than that, that was it. Yeah. It was normal. It was like, yeah, this is happening, but life is still going on.
Actually, the reason I asked that is because when COVID actually hit, that's when I got more into YouTube and focused more on like social media and stuff like that. So I didn't know, did it allow you to focus more on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I don't know. Can't really say about that. I guess, social media probably it increased the viewing and all of that because people were stuck inside. But I don't know what I can't really say if it affected my channel or anything like that. Yeah.
That's good to hear, and good to still have you along here, Sal. So keep on rocking.
Yeah.
In terms of your assessing musicianship, I guess, so what sort of advice can you give to people who want to perhaps enter into that field?
It should be your calling, and it should be an organic thing where it's something you're moving toward. And I would say learn as much as you can about the instrument you're playing. Don't be a specialist. I think a lot of maybe younger generations specialize in music instead of having a diverse background, becoming familiar with a lot of different genres. Learn as much as you can about the instrument. Yeah. And listen to music that came from the past and see the progression. That's what I would say. And, do it for the joy of playing music, So, yeah.
Commitment and also learn from the past, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see what you mean too. That's pretty good. And just making sure we're caught up with all the questions. All right, let's get into some fun ones right here. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite alcoholic drink?
I like being Italian descent. I like wine and sometimes a beer. And excuse me, I'm gonna.
Oh, by all means.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite drinks. And also smoothies. Health smoothies. Those are good. With fruit and all that kind of stuff. Spirulina and all that kind of thing. I live pretty much an organic lifestyle. My wife and I. My wife has an organic garden that produces a lot of vegetables and stuff. And I've been a vegetarian for many years. Not now though, but off and on. And I'm very conscious of what I eat. If it's not organic, or if it's not made with foodstuffs instead of like chemicals in the laboratory, I can't eat it. My mind can't get past that. So yeah. I like to drink wine. That's one of my favorite. Yeah.
It's funny when you mention your vegetarian lifestyle because first off, I'm a straight up omnivore. I'll do either or, but
yeah.
I'm always curious about the vegetarian. To be honest, I guess can you walk through that? I guess were you always a vegan, or did you?
No. That happened. That happened actually when I first came out to California. I met. I thought it was a more healthy lifestyle instead of eating something that needed to be killed. Or also at the time, I got into, I don't know if you know this religious group as the Hare Krishnas, but I went to one of their festivals where they had Indian vegetarian food, and it's like, oh man, I like that. So I did that for 10 years, and then I started eating meat, and then I did a vegetarian thing again. It was just, I thought it was just healthy at the time, but now I eat all kinds of food. I eat, fish, meat, chicken, whatever, so I don't know. I was into yoga and meditation, so that I think that had something to do with it. So, but yeah.
Actually, it's funny when I mentioned yoga. Did you have goats involved in your yoga?
I have what?
Goats. They actually do goat yoga now, where they have baby goats.
No, yeah. This is many years ago, so decades. So
it's the weirdest thing these days. They'll actually have baby goats participate in the yoga session.
Oh yeah.
So I recommend you check it out. See for yourself.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
All right. And I guess did you already say what your favorite non-alcoholic drink was?
Yeah, it's it would be like fruits, in a fruit juice with nutritional yeast and protein powder and stuff like that. That would be that kind of thing. Yeah. There's not much in that way.
I see, yeah. Keep it healthy. Actually, mine's pretty bad because I do a second job where I work in a local family restaurant.
Oh, yeah?
And we're just your typical bar and grill. You got the burgers, steaks, the deep fried fries, tater tots.
I love that stuff. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's completely unhealthy, but it's so good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I just can't help but try to pick at something every now and again. But as unhealthy as it is, it's still very good. That's the worst part about it.
I love burger and fries. We like to go to some of these here in this town in Idaho. there's a number of beer joints, that serve burgers and fries and all that kind of stuff, but they brew their own beer on site. It's really good, so yeah, I love that stuff. I love making my own hamburgers. So what kind of work do you do in a restaurant?
I'm actually a little bit of a jack of all trades, so I help cook.
Yeah. Oh, good.
I also do the little bit of the breading in a deep fried station, but I also help with portioning and inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and again, help with dishwashing and stuff like that. So I help them out, and it's a nice life.
That's one of the things I like to do is cook. And I cook of course, Italian, but Chinese, Mediterranean, Japanese, Chinese. I said Chinese already. Yeah. And my favorite thing is making pizza. I've been making it now since 2015. And here in this town, there's no good pizza. It's not like New York or San Francisco. And so I make my own, fermenting the dough. It's one of my pastimes. I make it almost once a week. So, yeah, and I've learned you let the dough ferment for like 3 days, and it gets like what they call pre-digested. It's very easy. It's very light. So, and Neapolitan style, margarita, that kind of thing, but I love doing that.
I was going to say that's your Italian side, going back to
but
the little pizzeria.
I grew up on pizza, man. Pizza and hot dogs.
You ever try the Italian hoagies?
Oh, yeah. Not much, but yeah. That's in Philadelphia, right? The hoagie. That's what the Philly cheesesteak and all that stuff.
Philly cheesesteak, yeah. It's straight Italian. It's been Americanized like Chinese food, to be honest, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
So, was there ever a song that was too tough for you to play, and you either gave up or came back after a while?
Yes. Mainly because, Rush, okay? It was Tom Sawyer. I wanted to play Tom Sawyer, and I just couldn't find a good drum sample that triggered right, and I gave up on it. Also a Megadeth tune that I know Vinnie Colaiuta played on. Yeah, I don't know what happened to their regular drummer. And it had a really fast double kick thing, and I just said, forget it. So, yeah. And, but there were songs that I did come back to. I can't think of some of the names, but I think an Eric Johnson tune, Cliffs of Dover. I would try something out and I'd come back. I know I did a drumless version of Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run. And I wasn't getting it at first. It's pretty progressive. His first song was pretty progressive, that song. Anyway, but I came back to it and it worked out really well. Well, yeah, there has been, and that's okay. It's like, hey, I can't do it. I think it's mainly because I felt this is where the Electronic Kid had some limitations, I felt. And also my ability, maybe I needed to woodshed more. But, yeah. So that has happened.
I was going to say, for Bruce Springsteen, I thought you were going to say Born in the USA, since that one has a lot more drumming involved in it, too. Especially as, it progressively gets harder and harder as you keep going in. You have a nice, maybe we can call it a nice little drum solo before the song starts fading out in that part there.
Yeah.
So I thought you were going to say that one, so I'll have to listen to Born to Run again.
I'm telling you, that first song of his, that's if you listen to it and hear all the changes and sections, go, wow. I never thought of Bruce being that kind of guy to write that, but yeah. So yeah, I like to do my drum covers with drumless tracks. There's a number of software, you probably know about this drumless software, like X-Track stems and Moises, I guess. They don't really remove the drum track. They remove the frequency that the drum track is in, which means some of the other instruments are going to get affected. They might sound a little squirrely or swirly because you've removed a chunk of them. But it works out pretty well for most songs. So I like to do that like that.
I have heard of Moises, but I'm having trouble trying to use it because I don't know how I can get it on my computer. I was only get
Oh,
an
you know
app on my
what?
phone.
I think it's only on the phone. I don't think you can do it on the computer. But the one you can do on the computer is called X-Track Stems.
Hmm.
X-Track Stems. Yeah, that one is you can do on your computer. Yeah, the Moises things, you got to do a number of things, um, a number of steps. You got to jump through a number of hoops, and then to get the final product. But yeah,
I see. I'll have to
yeah,
check it out. I'll have to check it out. But in all honesty, I've just been kind of rolling with what I've been doing, which is it's the actual song and still has the drums in it. I just make my drums louder than the.
yeah, yeah.
Which,
The thing sometimes, I don't know if this is one of your questions, but my approach to doing drum covers is a number of there's three ways. One, you can do an exact replica of what the drummer's doing, or number two, you can do exact renditions of certain parts, but then add your own. And then three, completely forget about what the drummer did on the record and do your own. That's where drumless tracks come in handy. So that's my approach to that. And there are certain drummers that I want to do exactly what they're doing. And Stuart Copeland from the Police was one, even though he says, hey, that's the way the recording came out at the time, that necessarily he wouldn't play it like that. But and also Ringo's parts, for the most part, I wanted to copy them exactly. So anyway, that was my approach to drum covers.
I was gonna say, was it mostly out of respect, or were you just suffering from a little perfectionism at the time?
Well, yeah, out of respect for the drum part. It's I same thing with Cream, Eric Clapton's one of his first bands. Ginger Baker, well-known drummer, the late Ginger Baker. Sunshine of Your Love. I wanted to get it exactly, just because it's such a groovy part, Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I would do. Mainly now these days, it's a combination of it's number two, getting certain parts. I mean, if there's a drum part that's signature, it's as important as the chord progression or whatever. You got to do it. So I'll do that, but then I'll do my own kind of thing. Because the thing is this, and I tell this to people who've criticized some of my videos, and I can tell that they're not experienced musicians or know any better, right? They'll go, you played that wrong. And I go, it's like it's grooving, it fits the music. And my approach, if I do it entirely on my own, I'm considering, like, the guy came to me and said, here, I got this song. I can't go, well, what's the other drummer playing on it? No, there is no other drummer. You're going to be the drummer. Yeah, and I've gotten paid to do that kind of thing in my professional career. It's like, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to play it like myself. As a good friend of mine says, I'm going to play what I feel,
Be like, you are the drummer now.
That's right. Yeah.
Actually, there was a lot of info to take into that one, but I know Stuart Copeland, actually, the first time I actually saw him as a person was actually on a TV show I used to watch back in college.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Storage Wars, and one of the guys actually found a drum set. And I think the little symbol on it actually had Earth, Wind, and Fire on it. So I think that was one of the groups, but regardless,
Yeah.
this guy took it to Stuart Copeland, and he did test run and everything too. And he kind of broke it down piece by piece, and the price went up after he had signed it all, so you can imagine how much more the guy made just after Stuart Copeland signed it. So,
Wow. Storage Wars, huh? Wow.
I didn't really have much of a life in college. I wasn't much of a partier, to be honest. So I just, after I was done with my homework, I just wasted time just looking for some sort of TV shows, and sports at that time was getting old, or if it was like more in the springtime when there wasn't a whole lot of sports going on.
Yeah.
We just turned to A&E, and I know a couple of friends of mine got me into it too. So, so I had a Storage Wars stint for a good while.
Yeah.
So
Why not? The heck. It's better than partying, probably.
well, I came a little bit later. That was actually senior year of college when went out to a bit more parties, but don't tell my parents. So, All right. So I have all the drum covers you've done. Is there one that you love the most?
Yeah, the one there's one by the group Kansas, Wayward Son is one of my favorite. Again, done with a drumless track. Um, yeah, that's probably one of my favorite. Uh, there's yeah, a lot of the Beatles stuff I did, and also Jimi Hendrix, Purple Haze. Um, I did this one by Tower of Power that had a pattern in five. The song was 4/4, called East Side. Yeah, there's a number of them that I'm pleased with the sound. It's mainly not only the drumming, but how it sounded, the kit I picked, and whether it matches the music and whether it's a good mix. There are others that I go, I could have done that differently, but it's already done. So, but yeah, I have a number of ones, but they're escaping me right now. But yeah, usually most of them are, because I wouldn't upload them if I didn't like them. Though there are some I shouldn't have uploaded, but they're few and far between. But yeah.
Correction, it was Carry On, Wayward Son from
Yeah,
Kansas.
yeah, that has a lot of good changes in. And again, that's a song where I didn't play exactly what Phil Earhart played. I actually added stuff, and there are sometimes I tell this to YouTube people that have made comments in a wrong way, that just because something's on a recording doesn't mean it's the only way to interpret a song's rhythmic pattern. But sometimes it's not necessarily the best way. And sometimes the drummer didn't play certain things where I thought he should have. And Wayward Son, there's a section in there where it's during the guitar solo where I can tell that Phil Earhart was faking it, moving through this pattern. He wasn't quite getting it, but it's still in time, so they left it on the record. But speaking of which, Bohemian Rhapsody was one that I liked. And that's a song I read about that the drummer, I forget his name now, Roger, was that his name? Or some, anyway, they recorded that song in piecemeal. They didn't go from A to Z. Well, I did it all in one take, and I did things that Roger Cello, that's his name, that he didn't play, right? And that's a song that I played it mainly my way, and probably that's a song that, I came in early with the groove because I thought, hey, where there's a bass line, there could be drums. So the drums don't come in till later, even though the bass is there. So I get comments like, hey, you came in too early, yeah.
It's just the trolls. You're playing it wrong. You're playing it wrong. What are you doing, man? You're playing it wrong. I'm going to be an asshole and say you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, but I'd like to tell some of these people, I'll tell you what, why don't you put up a video of you playing it right, okay? Of course, they don't. You go to their channel, they don't have a picture, they don't have a name, they have no material, but that doesn't happen as much. In the early days, there was a lot of trolling going on, I thought. Not as much now.
Yeah, I know what you mean too. And
yeah.
it's at least calmed down now. It's calmed down somewhat.
I'm sure you've gotten some things, but yeah.
Actually, it was one of my more harder songs, but I've done Napalm Death, and that was actually where some of my worst comments, I was going to say worser, but that's not a word, but my worst comments came in there. So afterwards, I just deleted them and just was like, hell of this. These guys don't know what they're talking about. But going back to Carry On Wayward Son, I do remember when you commented on me and Earl Bennett's collaboration together on that song.
Right. That was quite an undertaking you guys did. Yeah, see, Earl was another drummer that, we supported each other back in the day. And yeah, right. Yeah.
I kind of messed around with his name now, I say.
What's that?
Sorry, I had a little cough there. But
yeah.
I I give around his name. I say the Earl of Bennett would be.
Uh,
So
yeah, Earl's quite a drummer, man. I like how he changes his skits. But I thought, man, what a challenge. I guess you were playing to his cover, right? From what I remember.
yeah, you saw through it too. It was it was an earlier one because some of the other recent ones he was doing, he actually didn't have time to just go back and redo it all again. But
Mhm.
he sent me one he did a while back, and of course you see that it was all he was improvising in a good number of spots, like even when it's just be like hitting the ride cymbal, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit of an undertaking there, but I just had to make sure. Okay, let's do this song a good number of times. When this happens, he'll come in, or I come in at this point. So
Hmm.
it took a little bit, but I was able to get it done in a good amount of time. A friend of mine
Yeah,
also helped me out too.
yeah, you got through it, and you got through it without getting hurt. So there you go.
Well, I made it through. I don't know if Earl got hurt, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Earl's a really nice guy, and
Yeah.
I had the privilege actually privilege. I had the honor to have him on a podcast a few episodes back. So that was a hell of a nice interview too. So have you
Yeah.
guys been friends for a good while?
Yeah. I can't remember how far back, but Earl was one of those drummers that when he put something on, I go and watch it. But lately, I've been, in the sidebar of YouTube, I've been getting his stuff, so I go check it out lately. It's funny how that happens, People I've known come and go, but all of a sudden Earl is back. Oh, and his videos are looking a lot better. He's improved the quality. That's another reason why I don't feel inspired so much to do the drum covers because the way some of these videos are, some of these people have great lighting and they have multi-camera angles and all kinds of stuff. And I'm in a small room here, probably 10 by 12, but I've always got to reset up my stuff. I can't just leave it, So, but yeah. So anyway, I noticed his Earl's videos improved a lot in quality. But yeah.
He messed around with a lot of the lighting in our collaboration that he was doing there. Or it was like regular lighting at first, and I guess he did some sort of effect at certain points there to just kind of like bring it out because this is like the powerful section of Carry On Wayward Son here.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So you're familiar with that tune? Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, believe it or not, and this is a story I've told numerous times, was I played Rock Band way back in the day, and Carry On Wayward Son was actually one of the songs on drums. So I'm familiar with how the song goes. So I'm no stranger to it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can tell when I saw the video. I'll have to go back and listen to more of your videos on your channel.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we're kind of nearing the end here, but last of the fun questions here.
Yeah.
All right. What is currently your favorite song?
I don't have one.
Everything's my favorite.
What's that?
I was going to say, everything is your favorite song.
Yeah. My favorite thing is whatever I'm watching at the time. And a lot of times it's diffusion stuff, like watching a video with Vinnie Colaiuta playing on it. Yeah. Speaking of which, some of my Police covers, well, not Police, Sting with Vinnie, have been some of my favorite because they're kind of like 7/4 grooves, but they sound the way they're played. They feel like 4/4. But anyway, no, I really don't. I don't have any favorite right now. Yeah. I guess, what the songs that I listen to a lot are the songs I'm mixing for the church. I have it's like over 80 songs on Dropbox. And so, and I'm blown away by the vocalists. There's 4 major vocalists, and whether one of them is singing lead or the others are background vocals, they sync together so well, and they got some chops, vocal chops. So that's the kind of whatever I'm mixing. That's usually what my favorite is right now. So yeah.
I couldn't help but notice the hat. Is that for the TV series The Chosen, or is that just something else?
No, that's the TV series, Chosen. As a matter of fact, my wife and I went to the premiere of season 3, episodes 1 and 2 at the theater Friday. Show is getting great, better and better. Yeah, it's a great series. We own it. We've watched it many times. Yeah, have you seen it?
I have not yet. In fact, me and my mom, we tend to like jump around with some of the British crime dramas. Sometimes I watch what she's watching too. I guess, have you ever watched any of them? I think one that comes to mind is The Midsummer Murders.
I started watching that, but I got to tell you, my wife and I are fans of British TV. Cold and Midwife, The Crown, great series. I don't know if you've seen The Crown. The British Baking Show. Yeah, and we just love British TV. But I started watching that, and I don't know, I lost interest. I don't know. I might go back and check that out. Yeah.
The funny thing about the British ones is the seasons are so short, but the episodes are so long. So
yeah.
So it's pros and cons of like each one. It's good to have them long, but not a short season. If it was like 10 episodes, it'd be like, okay, that was a good season.
Yeah.
So.
British actors and actresses are just so superb. They're so good at what they do.
It's funny when you mention The Crown, because the funny scene that comes to mind from that show is when I forget the actress's name, but she was playing Margaret. I think it was season 3.
Yeah.
She goes to see President Lyndon B. Johnson, and I guess I guess they get a little hammered and stuff, and they just start joking around Tony's adult appropriate jokes.
Yeah. That was funny.
It was funny, yeah. So.
Helena Bonham Carter, that's the actress.
Okay.
She's been in some, I don't know if you know who Tim Burton is. I think she was married to the guy. She's been in some of his movies, like Frankenstein was really a weird one. But yeah, I remember that episode. Well, the guy who played the Johnson was really a character.
I would say they did an awesome job too.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the joke, but the jokes, they should say, but
yeah, they were limericks. They called them limericks. There was a young man from blah blah blah. Whatever they go like that. But yeah,
I see. Yeah, it was a good show, even though they always had to jump between actors since they kept doing time jumps. So it would be like this actress would play the queen for a good while. Then season 2 started, was a different actress, and then so on and so on until they eventually ended the series. I'd say the one that I really wanted to dig into more was about Princess Diana up until her passing.
That's the last season. There's going to be one more. I think I'm not sure how many there are, but yeah. And the actress who plays Diana is she really looks the part and acts the part. Yeah, but what they were doing is they were progressing in age. So you have the Queen starting out with a younger actress. Claire Foy was her name.
Yeah.
And season 1 and 2, and it's, of course, Prince Philip. And then season 3 and 4, the actor is older. So that's basically what they were doing, the Prince Charles. But the last one is pretty good.
I always felt so bad for Charles, especially when he got to that. I want to say military boot camp, but it was that school that.
Oh, yeah.
It was so weird because it seemed to take on that little communist ideology where like everybody's equal, so to speak. But
yeah.
But it looked more like torture, to be honest.
I know, and he didn't want to go there. He didn't want to go there. His father made him because his father went there. Gordonson, that was the name of the school. Gordonson.
Yeah.
Something Scotland. Something, yeah. Kind of weird.
But regardless, still a good show. Actually, I wanted to get into watching House of the Dragon because me and my mom really liked Game of Thrones up until it started getting a little choppy near the end there. But we still watched every single season, every episode. So
yeah,
I guess were you ever a fan of Game of Thrones, or did you ever see House of the Dragon?
No, never seen those. Yeah,
I'd say brace yourself if you're going to. It's
it's House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon.
It's graphic. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I watch shows with my wife, and I don't know if she'll go for that kind of thing. The lights are kind of flickering. That's why I'm looking around right now.
Okay.
Slightly flickering, but yeah.
Well, don't worry. We're actually almost near the end here. But I guess, do you have any questions for me or anything you want to say before we reach the last question?
Yeah, I want to thank you for considering me to be one of your interviewees. You know, I mean, I'm honored that my channel is still getting visibility. You know, so and it's always good to talk to another drummer. And yeah, like I said, I'll go back to your channel and check out more of your stuff and the interviews and stuff like that. Yeah. What made you want to do this kind of thing?
I had it quite by accident because when I first started out, it was just simply drum covers. I was just going to release what I could.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one video a week, because drum covers, they tend to take a while when you're trying to edit them and then just make a match and make sure everything's good, or if you want to throw in any effects. It started off with that, but then I actually started reading into podcasting and like how much of a nice business it was, because you see some of these podcasts making millions of dollars, that sort of thing. And I was saying, like,
sure, yeah,
I want to try that. And,
yeah, it's your material. There's no copyright. It's your stuff. You can monetize. Yeah.
Well, there was that, and when I started looking into music, because everything I did on my channel was always based around music, and I messed around with vlogs. I did some reviews on like artists who didn't really have a nice presence, but they at least they had something. They had something going for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere, so I decided to jump into podcasting. I found out there was other drummers in our community, mainly Drumman 190. I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Oh yeah, Drumman. I've done some things with him. Last Christmas, I submitted a Christmas drum cover. Something, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
I actually saw his podcast, 5 Strokes at 5, and that's when the light bulb went off in my head.
Uh-huh.
There was another one too. There was a Drummer's Key. This was more maybe like a talk show, maybe get together every now and again, because he wasn't really committed to it, but he was just having fun with it.
Yeah.
But his also that light bulb go off my head and be like, I'll reach out to drummers in my community and see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them happened to be a good friend of mine. He's a drummer. He's jammed around in Nashville for a good while now. So that was my first interview, and haven't looked back ever since. And I've been loving this. So
great. Well, I wish you much success with your channel. Can I ask you, what kind of software do you use for video editing? Because I noticed you had a bunch of nice video effects and stuff.
Well, I try to throw it in every now and again, but hold on. Sorry.
Yeah.
I use Logic Pro first off for the MIDI.
Yeah.
So we at
Good.
least
That's what I do too. Yeah.
since I use a Mac, I was able to get Final Cut Pro with mine.
Oh,
so,
wow. That's good software. Yeah.
Absolutely, but there's only so much you can use with it. You need like other certain effects to be like, damn, I really wish I had that effect, but it's not in this library of everything else they have.
Yeah.
But there were a couple free stuff I was able to get, but regardless, I throw it in there, and then I try to do it based on feel. So I'm like, if there's like maybe a quiet part, and then it jumps to it like a lot, I maybe want to do like a flash or a what's called bloom, like it flashes white or something like that, and then it's meant to build emotion, stuff like that. So I try to make sure my videos are like that. In terms of interviews, all I'm really doing is just making sure the volume's good, but sometimes the audio and the video don't tend to match up for some reason, so I make sure I separate them, and then I just make sure the video matches with where the audio is going. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm hoping nothing bad happens in this interview. So
Yeah. Your videos have a good sound from what I've heard. Yeah. The drums.
And really, it's just presets out of Final Cut Pro. It's just I do the EQ,
Yeah.
compressor, and adaptive limiter, and that's really about it.
Yeah.
I might move the audio up and down a little bit, but that's really about it. It's just to make sure I get it
Sure.
at a good threshold to say.
Yeah. I'm finding it's better to be simple. In these days with software, it's so complex. Like there's so many features of Logic Pro that I don't know about. I've been going online and learning from people about that, but just learning what it is you need instead of like being bogged down by all these features and stuff. You know, if there's something I need to do and I don't know how to do it, I'll go and learn it. That's the easiest thing, most simplest thing. Yeah.
Simple is really all you need to do. Just that's what sometimes people say. They say like, just keep it simple. Don't go too crazy with it. So
sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess, did you have anything else before we jump to the last question, or are we good to go?
I think, yeah, we're good to go. Yeah.
I'm assuming you look at the list, so I think you know which question might come next.
Yeah, one of your questions, have I played on an electric drum kit before? Only in 2008 I started. Up until that point, it's been all acoustic, which started in the early 70s. So for the first 30 years, I guess, I played acoustic.
Well, the funny thing was, you mentioned about the TD-17, I guess, what you were saying with right in front of you. So I figured you kind of answered that question.
Yeah, the TD-17 is the module we use at the church. On my converted kit, I'm using my first module, which is a Roland TD-12. And then on the V-drum kit, I'm using a TD-20. That's been updated. So it's a TD-W-20. So, but that's it, yeah.
I would just say the biggest thing was, did you have a preference? But you did already answer that one, so we're all good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So for the last question, I think this is something people really need this day, given what COVID has done. So obviously you've been blessed, didn't have too much problems with COVID. So here's how the last question goes. What sort of message of hope could you give to musicians out there, as well as people?
Hope. Well, that's Jesus Christ. I'm a follower of his. He is the way, the truth, and the life. If you want to know what our life is all about, it's in the scriptures. It's in the New Testament, the Old Testament. It's one of the things I spend a lot of time to. I've been reading the Bible now for over 26 years or something, and there isn't a day that doesn't go by. So I consider myself a theologian. And so without Christ, I can't see any kind of hope. I don't know how anybody has any kind of hope, because what do you have here? A hope is a person. It's not some kind of ideal. And he came down, he proved himself to be God. And he is the way and the truth and the life eternal after this. So that's my hope. It's in Jesus Christ. It's in a person. It's not in a theology, an ideology or anything like that. That is the meaning of life, that there's a creator who created the heavens and the earth, and he gave his son. Jesus shows who God is through his love for humanity, and he gave his life so that we may have eternal life. So that's my hope. I can say a lot more. I'm editing because I know it could be overwhelming, some of the things that I might have to say to somebody or people who are not familiar with that, but that's my hope, is Jesus Christ. And I know after this life, I will be with God in his kingdom. There's a heavenly kingdom. And there's this thing called eschatology. It's a study of the end times, and it's in the Bible, it's in the scripture. I know what's going to happen. There is a time, and we can see it in our life. Our world right now is getting worse and worse, and that's exactly what Scripture says. It's heading. This world is heading for the destruction. It will be destroyed, but then a new heaven and a new earth will be created. So that's my hope. That's what I would say. My hope is in Jesus. Yeah. And anybody who believes in him is what you call born again. You have a spirit, not just a physical body, but now you have a spirit nature, so that you can communicate with God. Yeah, there's a lot to say about that, but in brief, that's my hope.
Spoken like a true prodigy. All right. Yeah, actually, you should check out some of the stuff that you do see on YouTube. Paul Vanderklay. He's actually a pastor, and out in Sacramento, California, and he does a lot of talking about stuff on meaning, as well as Jordan Peterson,
Yeah, true.
Jonathan Pageau.
Yeah, yeah,
Look at those guys.
yeah,
They're really doing a whole lot of nice work, and I wish them all the best luck going forward.
yeah. There's a
And
lot of that out there. Yeah, doing some.
I don't know. I was gonna say I don't know if you're Catholic, but I'm Catholic too. I'm Catholic,
Well,
so
I was raised a Catholic growing up in Brooklyn. I made my first Holy Communion and my confirmation. I went to catechism after school on Wednesdays, and I was a Catholic. The thing about Catholicism is it has one foot in Orthodox Christianity and then another in their traditions that they give equal weight to. But they do have the right Jesus. They have the right essential doctrines, the virgin birth, the second person of the triune Godhead, and all that. Unlike Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons, they got a wrong Jesus. They got a fat. But Catholics have the right Jesus. So there's born-again Catholics in the Roman Catholic Church. Yeah.
Actually, I was going to say Viva Jesus. That's Knights of Columbus, because that's an organization I'm a part of. But
Yeah.
not recently. They haven't really kept in touch with me. So I think that's going to be a New Year's resolution going into next year. So
Yeah. Well, God bless you, bro. I mean, I'll be praying for you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
all right. So everyone today, I guess today was Sal D'Amato, hailing from Idaho.
Romantic.
Romantic. I guess where'd you come up with that name?
See that? Can you see it?
I can see. Yeah. I was just gonna say, where'd you come up with the name?
The love of rhythm. Romance, romantic. So I put mantic with rhythm, and I came up with rhythmantic. It's just one of those things.
All right. I'll give it to you. That's clever. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So
Okay.
we're reaching the end of my podcast right here. Did you have any shout outs or any last words you want to say?
No, I think that's it. Thank you, Brian. And God is good. That's my last shout out. God is good.
Absolutely. All right.
Okay.
So thank you again so much again for coming on.
Okay,
Stay
Brian.
safe.
Okay.
Stay tuned, y'all.
See you, man.